I love a lot of the offerings that Rent to Retirement has because it's really low risk, right? And it's all about preserving long-term wealth, putting your money into something safe, stable, solid. And again, it's the biggest friggin' city in the entire state of New Mexico, and it has seen consistent, massive population growth. What you have to understand is like your markets like Cleveland and Detroit and stuff like that, like the cap rates and the price to rent ratios, those factor in risk. When you're going to a place like this, you're buying a property like this, your level of risk is like freaking nil, okay? All right, y'all, I got a nice treat for you. How does a property in a city that's the biggest city in its state, and that city is still growing, it's been growing every freaking year since 1880. How does that sound to you, right? Because that's exactly what I have for you today. This is the Pueblo model in Albuquerque, New Mexico, coming to you guys from our friends over at Rent to Retirement. This thing comes in at $322,900, brand new construction. And what I like about this is the property, yeah, it's cool. It's nice. A-grade area, nice area. You're renting to high-end tenants, right? You're not renting to like Section 8 tenants that are going to jack it all up. You know, people, solid income, solid credit score. That's cool. But what I really want to narrow down and focus on for you guys is the city of Albuquerque itself, right? And essentially just like overall fundamental long-term buy and hold strategy, right? Because there's two major trains of thought, two major schools of thought when it comes to investing in rental properties. You got your cash flow cowboys, your cash flow kings, right? And you got your long-term play, sit, wait, buy a hold, mailbox money, allow my, property to grow my net worth, right? These two crowds of people, right? They're not necessarily exclusive, right? I myself am into both. And that's what I believe you guys should be, right? I cut my teeth on the cash flow, Rust Belt, super cheap properties, Section 8 properties, population's not really worried about appreciation, hitting up markets that don't have a ton of appreciation. Cut my teeth, got started in that, right? But the more I build my business, the more wealthy I become, the more I focus on diversification, and the more I focus on the bigger picture, the long-term picture, and right? And I think that's very important for people like you out there watching this, and you got to understand the fundamentals behind the markets and the cities and stuff you're investing in, right? And that's what takes me to like Albuquerque. And the first thing you could do, right? You just look at the historical trends in the census data, right? Like, look at this, dude. 1880 census, 2,315 people. 10 years later, when they do it again, goes up. 1900 goes up. 1910 goes up. 1920 up. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, 2020, 564,000, right? It goes up every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 census in a row. The population has gone up every single time. Now, I want you to take that in your head there, and I want you to go check out like Detroit census data. Check out Baltimore census data. Check out Cleveland, Ohio census data, okay? You're not going to see that consistent population growth, right? Like Cleveland went from like 1 million people to like 300-something thousand people, right? I don't have the Detroit numbers off the top of my head, but, similar, okay? So when you're focused on the long-term play, you really want to focus on markets like Albuquerque, right, where you're just seeing consistent growth. Are the immediate cash flow numbers, are they like super amazing and sexy? Not really, right? You're not hitting the 1% roll, $322,900. The rent, it's $1,750, okay? But what you have to understand is like your markets like Cleveland and Detroit and stuff like that, like the cap rates and the price to rent ratios, those factor in risk. When you're going to a place like this, you're buying a property like this, your level of risk is like freaking nil, okay? Because we got fucking, what is this? That's 100, 110, 120, 130. We got 140 years of historical data telling us that the next time we count the motherfuckers living over here, there are going to be more of them, okay? And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand this very simple fact. When you have a city and people are moving in more than they're moving out, the price of the real estate is going to go up. The price of the rent is going to go up, okay? So your risk is like negligible, right? The amount of money you're going to be making off a property like this in 10, 20, 30 years, astronomical, right? So don't focus too much on those like 1-year cash flow numbers. Although our buddies over at Rent to Retirement, they do quite a bit of cool stuff and like giveaways and incentives and stuff for investors, and that really does increase the cash flow. Like for instance, with this particular property, they're giving you a $2,000 cash back post-close credit, a $2,400 rent credit, and 1 year of free property management should you buy this property through them, right? So they do cool stuff like that, but that's all well and good, but again, that's not the big thing here. The big thing is working on investing your money in real estate markets that are going to have high quality housing, that are going to grow steadily, right? You're focused on steadily growing your net worth, right? Nobody's buying the Pueblo model from Rent to Retirement today and then walking into their boss's office on Monday saying, "Hey, Doug, suck my fucking cock, bro. I don't need this job anymore, bitch. I'm an investor," right? I get a lot of people watching HoltonWise TV that have that mindset, and they come to us, okay? And, for those people, you got to get involved in, like, if that's your dream to tell your boss to fuck himself, that's fine. That's all well and good. But you're not going to be able to do that with like just rental properties. You have to like become an active real estate entrepreneur. You need to be doing things like flipping and renovating and possibly becoming an agent, getting broker commissions and stuff. Like nobody's like, buying 1 or 2 rental properties telling their boss to go fuck himself. It doesn't work that way. And then for those people too, they're usually focused on more, obviously the more active strategy, but they're also going to be focused on your low cost, high risk, high reward type investments, right? And you'll see that in the Section 8 space. And, we work with people like that all the time. And, we help those people work too. But if you can get in doing that kind of stuff and then you have some success with it, as you get older, your appetite for risk probably goes down. As you start to have a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of net worth, your risk appetite is going to go down. And in my opinion, you don't want to be like going balls to the wall forever. I think at that point, you need to then redivert your energy into something like preserving what you've built. And that is what I think properties like this one, the Pueblo model in Albuquerque, are for. And that's why I love a lot of the offerings that Rent to Retirement has, because it's really low risk, right? And it's all about preserving long-term wealth, putting your money into something safe, stable, solid. And again, it's the biggest friggin' city in the entire state of New Mexico, and it has seen consistent, massive population growth since 1880. If you're interested in learning more, you can hit up my buddies over at Rent to Retirement. They'll talk to you about this property. There's a couple other properties being built in Albuquerque that you'll also have the opportunity to invest in. And if for some reason the Southwest isn't the market that you're feeling, Rent to Retirement, they have offerings and stuff like that available in most growth markets throughout the USA, right? If you're looking for up-and-coming markets where you're going to see a ton of appreciation, they got a bunch of stuff from, Florida all the way to friggin' Oklahoma City, right? Where things are growing, they've done a lot of R&D, and they have some options for you guys. So check them out about this property. Check them out about other properties.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to HoltonWise TV for more financial information, education, and entertainment.